and welcome to another episode of Just Another Effing Podcast. I am your host. I am from the great city, the hub city, the city on a hill, ladies and gentlemen. It's the JFB, James from Boston.
And you might know me as the patron saint of professional wrestling. You might know me as that gingered up, bubbly son of a bitch. I'm Canada Dry, damn it!
Yeah. So before we get into the swing of things, it so happens to be that we have a rivalry brewing amongst us. The Boston Bruins take on the Vancouver Canucks tonight, of all places.
So you know what? I challenge you to a bet.
Okay.
Tonight.
What do we put on the line?
If the Canucks win, you got to wear a Canucks shirt next week.
Okay. Not a problem. Not a problem. And if you lose, you have to wear a Boston Bruins hat, my friend.
I can't do that. The best I could do is a Boston Celtics hat.
I'll take a Celtics hat. I'll take a Celtics hat for a win.
Boston something, right? So Boston
Absolutely. I'll take a Celtics hat for the win. I want to give a shout out really quickly to a good friend of the show, Gary Joe. He is a fellow podcaster, and he is battling COVID really bad. Fluid on his lungs, still running a really high fever. He's not in the hospital anymore. He's been taken out of the hospital. So we want to wish him a speedy recovery.
He was going to come on the show last week, but COVID kind of took him out.
Yeah. Wear a mask. Get a vaccine. It's not hard.
Everyone wear your masks. Get your vaccines. I've lost people to COVID. People died.
Yeah.
That I know.
It is a new variant called Omicron, which sounds like a transformer. But
it does sound like a transformer. I'm so glad you said that.
Omicron, transform.
Wait. Isn't that from Futurama? Omicron Persei 8?
Yes, it is. That is from Futurama, baby. I have a feeling the CDC is in the WHO are just watching way too much Futurama to come up with Omicron Persei.
Transformers, whatever, right?
So let's get to the news, ladies and gentlemen, because that's what it's all about. The news as it happens. Johnny Gargano signs a 1 week long contract extension so he can participate in War Games. Apparently, according to the dirt sheets, the WWE is coming at him hard to get him signed. I would love to see Gargano in NXT. I think they need him in NXT, but the cynic in me feels like he is going to be going somewhere else. What are your thoughts?
That's the tough one. A week contract. Like WWE wanted to get him undercarded. They weren't going to take him at his word, which is interesting. Yeah. Joseph Graham says he's taking the pin.
He's going to take the pin. Okay.
Joseph Graham says.
Joseph Graham coming out with a prediction for him. He's taking the pin.
We can put it on the show here.
Seth Rollins actually got attacked on Monday Night Raw by a fan who apparently was catfished by a fake Seth Rollins account on Facebook. This fan jumped the barrier and speared him. What would you give that spear? I've seen the video. I give it a solid 7.
It was more like a tackle than a spear, but it was pretty good. I was surprised at the speed he got, and Seth Rollins didn't see him coming.
Oh no, he got blindsided. I give it a solid 7. It's not Goldberg or Edge, but it's up there. I give it a solid 7. What do you give it?
I'm gonna give it a 6, just because he was blindsided. Seth Rollins wasn't expecting it. Because you don't expect someone to be running out there. You realize you're just in performance mode, and you're just like, "Stay by everyone" to the crowd, right? Kind of thing.
Yeah. Chavo came out and said, "I remember when wrestlers used to beat the crap out of people who jumped the barrier." And apparently, Seth Rollins called this young black man a boy. So
yeah, you don't say that. That's
a no-no.
That is the heat of the moment. And fans were getting quite upset about that.
Yeah. That's a no. You don't call a black person boy at all. That's lowball. That's lowball right there.
Well, yeah, that's what they used to call the in slavery times, right?
Yeah. Undertaker felt boxed in with his gimmick and said that was when he knew it was time to put him away and to retire. I thought that was really interesting because while I don't put the Undertaker in my Mount Rushmore, he sits number 5 of one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
A lot of people put Undertaker on that Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, he's got the greatest wrestling gimmick. That is the greatest gimmick that's ever been devised and created by Vince and whoever was the Undertaker.
Maybe on a future show we can talk about the greatest gimmicks that weren't.
Yeah, we could easily,
like the one where Bret Hart wanted to have a cat at ringside, and then it would switch to a stuffed cat, and he'd whack the people on the head with it and knock them out. It'd be a brick in the cat, and then it would go back to a normal cat.
Oh man,
I would have loved that gimmick.
That would have been hilarious. That would have been hilarious. I smell future episode coming up.
Yeah.
Triple H and Stephanie's oldest daughter is now beginning training to become a professional wrestler. I for one am curious to see if she gets preferential treatment. She gets the rub because she's their daughter.
How old is she? Do you know?
I didn't check. I think she's 17 or 18. She's
got to be young, and no, she's not 20.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Speaking of power couples, Bully Ray and Velvet Sky have called it quits. They have broken up. Each one say they were going to be best friends and wish each other well. And then Austin Gunn, speaking of saying stuff you shouldn't be saying on a tweet, Austin Gunn has dropped the N-word on a Twitter post that happened a few years ago that resurfaced.
Well, he was a teenager, so that's an interesting thing, right?
Yeah.
You know, me and you, when we were teenagers back in the day, there was no social media.
No, there wasn't.
And like, you know, like how many people would we have been in trouble if we got famous, right? If we're like,
oh God.
You never know, right?
That's stupid crap that I did as a kid. I'd be infamous.
Right? So and I like that, you know, he apologized and he put an apology note, and it's so hard for teen, like that is hard for teenagers today because your brain isn't fully developed as a teenager.
Yeah.
And you know, you're just dumb. You're a little bit dumb. Right?
Yeah, teenage boys are idiots. I know because I was a teenage boy. And I was an idiot. And I've told that to my son several times. Teenage boys are idiots. Don't be an idiot. So, all right, let's get to, since we finished the news, let's go ahead and get down to the nitty and the gritty. We are talking about the greatest belts of all time. Anywhere from the history to the design to the meaning to the people that have held it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what. Hey, Misty Wisty, shut up. Okay,
Misty Wisty, what a great wrestling name you have. Welcome, Misty Wisty. I just had you because of Misty Wisty name. Like I like that.
Misty Wisty, I love it. That is a great name. So let's go to our top 10. We actually the final 4 was chosen by our fans on Twitter polls. So. The first 6 are what we ranked them as, and then everybody else got their vote in for the top 4. So when we do number 10, we are going to bring up this one, the ECW World Heavyweight Belt. It was actually designed by Tommy Dreamer and Taz, surprisingly. Everything that you love about hardcore wrestling, ladies and gentlemen, is in this belt. And this belt,
what a beautiful belt that is.
It is a gorgeous belt, and it did go through a redesign. You know, you had the one that Shane Douglas won and Sandman won this one. They went through a redesign about a year and a half. Not much changed. The belt size was a little bit different. But this was the one that ran through 2001, which is to me is a great belt, you know, and for me, I don't know about you, but I would love to have this belt in my collection.
Oh yeah, or even the one that came after would be awesome too. But that belt there,
yeah, I mean they look really similar, and it wasn't a massive change like a lot of organizations will go through when they change their belts. For me, though, it's always going to be Sandman as an ECW World's Heavyweight Champion. That's who I associate with because he really was the first one to wear that belt. Before it was the old NWA version of the ECW Eastern Championship Wrestling belt before they went to Extreme Championship Wrestling, which is a great story. And if you have the Peacock or the WWE Network, watch the first 8 episodes, I would say, of ECW, and watch Shane Douglas drop the belt in the garbage. Was pretty damn awesome. So
I think of not necessarily this belt, but the whole ECW belts altogether. For some reason, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't watch a lot of ECW, but when I did, I think of Rob Van Dam.
Yeah.
I think of Rob Van Dam, and I don't know if he held the championship too long.
He held it multiple times. And I mean, there were not long reigns in the ECW.
Yeah, it was too hard because it was hardcore.
Yeah, it was. They weren't messing around.
We have a comment from Shane Douglas. I mean, from Joseph Graham saying Shane Douglas. Shane Douglas is not making a comment, but Joseph Graham is.
I'll agree with Joseph Graham. Shane Douglas was underrated. The problem was Shane Douglas thought he was better than everybody else.
Even in WCW, I really like Shane Douglas in WCW, the franchise. I like.
Yeah, I liked him in WWE, and I wish he would have gone a rod.
You know who I also think of with this ECW belt?
Who's that?
Mike Awesome.
Mike Awesome, a great story. And if you're a fan of Taz like I am, so Mike Awesome was going to sign with WCW. He was going to take the belt with him. Paul Heyman said no. Asked Taz, who at that time was a WWE wrestler, to take the belt off of Mike Awesome at a pay-per-view. And Taz did, and then dropped the belt the next day. I can't remember to who, but it's interesting that you have a WCW wrestler and a WWE wrestler wrestling for the ECW belt. So
I really enjoyed Mike Awesome, especially in ECW. I didn't like him so much when they made him that 70s guy in WCW.
Yes, yeah. Mike Awesome was another.
He was also the Canadian Killer in WCW.
That's true. That's right. All right, let's go to number 9. I think everybody can. I think this is going to be a bone of contention for a lot of people, but back in my day when I watched ESPN, before ESPN had its own rights to professional sports, they showed a lot of AWA. And if you're a wrestling fan in the 70s and 80s, you've heard about Vern Gagne's AWA and the Hall of Fame names that have come through there. To me, it's a beautiful belt. It's very simple, single plate, 2 plates on the side with the U.S. flag. You have that large main plate that's really reflective. It really shines, and with the multiple jewels on it. And guys like Hulk Hogan, Kurt Hennig. I mean, these are guys who have won and worn that belt. But for me, the guy that I will always associate with is Rick Martel. Before he went to WWE and became the model and part of Strike Force, this guy held the belt for almost a damn near year in AWA. And I always remember reading the magazines and seeing the pictures of, the AWA champion and Rick Martel and Ric Flair, the NWA champion, always on the cover.
The one he beat, right?
What's that?
Bockwinkel is the one he beat.
Bockwinkel was the one he beat, and Bockwinkel has a lot of reigns with that belt.
That's who I was going to go with. Well, I don't. Did he own the company?
He was a part owner of the company, yeah.
So yeah, I know Hulk Hogan was chasing Bockwinkel for that title. He never actually beat him.
Yeah,
but Hulk Hogan chasing Bockwinkel for that title really put Hulk Hogan over.
Yeah. Don't forget too, Larry Zbyszko, was a title holder as well. And I mean, another great wrestler that just did not get a lot of love from wrestling fans. But yeah, the AWA.
But I agree with you. Rick Martel, he really made that title. And it's a shame that WWF did not use him in more of a, he was more tag team and mid-carder.
Yeah. I mean, Strikeforce was awesome. Him and Tito Santana were awesome. I mean, they were an incredible tag team. And even as the model, he was kind of that heel.
He got a bit over with the model character because Vince could actually use a French model who sprayed mist in people's face.
Yeah, exactly. What was the Arrogance? That was the name of the fragrance. Arrogance. All right, let's go to number 8. Speaking of tag teams, ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you the WWF original tag team championship belts. During the golden era of WWE, they had one, if not the deepest roster of tag teams. The rectangular front plate with the eagle on top and the elongated globe were served by these amazing etches on the side plates that were changed somewhat over the years.
What's interesting about this belt is at one point, I think it was it WCW that had that same logo on the front of their world title?
Yes. Yeah.
That was prior to Big Gold, I think.
Yeah, that was a little bit prior to Big Gold. Yeah. And what's amazing about this belt is the history of it. If you were a fan of tag team wrestling in the 70s and the 80s, you named the tag team
belt in the 70s.
Yeah, late 70s all through 96, 97, and then they changed the belt, and then
So the first team that comes to my mind when I see these belts, is the Hart Foundation.
Yeah,
they made these belts so valuable.
Oh yeah,
just by being hated so much, those guys had so much heat on them. They made these belts so valuable. Who do you think of?
I think of the British Bulldogs, Davey Boy Smith and the Dynamite Kid, because I think they were one of the first ones to really elevate the tag team belt to a whole new level. And then, the Hearts obviously came and took the belt from them and stripped them of the title with Dynamite, Dynamite being hurt. But, Demolition is another one.
I was going to say Demolition.
Yeah.
They also carried that mantle of just a badass tag team.
Oh yeah, 400 plus days combined as tag team champions. And that's the thing when people will always crap on WWE that they don't promote tag team wrestling as much. And in the modern day, I can see it. I can understand it. I know where you're coming from. But back in the 80s, man, they had the deepest roster.
Yeah. The Killer Bees never even held these belts.
Yeah, Killer Bees never even held these belts. The Sheep Herders didn't, they didn't own it. The Moondogs never won it. The Rockers, they had it.
The Rockers never even had it.
Well, they had it for a brief time, and then they got taken away because of a ring malfunction. But the Hart Foundation, Demolition, Road Warriors. The list.
And it's a shame that people. It's a shame that the Demolition are not in the Hall of Fame. I guess for some of the lawsuits. I guess.
Yeah. And, there's a deep beef.
Well, they were created as an answer to the Road Warriors. And once they had the Road Warriors, they were old news.
Yeah. And, Bill Eadie, he's gone on to a fantastic career. They're at conventions all the time. And they do have replicas of this belt the Demolition, when they're out and about. Don't forget the Warlords or whatever they were called. The other, Warlord and
singles guys, Road Warriors. It was Ming and I don't know who the other guy was.
I think it was I think it was the Warlord and the Barbarian. That was
the Barbarian was a Ming /
yeah.
Was it?
No, it wasn't. It was another guy.
Oh yes, Ming ended up tagging with the Barbarian later.
Yeah. But I mean, again, we could wax poetic about tag teams. We've done it before, and I guarantee you, we'll do it again. It will be yet another great episode of tag team wrestling for sure. Let's go to number 7. This is a bone of contention, ladies and gentlemen. We could not agree on the number 7.
Yeah,
so we're gonna go.
Fighting. It was just like we almost ended the podcast, and
there's acrimony, there was angina. I got sick to my stomach. I couldn't take it anymore. So Canada Dry, take it away. Your number 7 pick.
When I think of the WCW United States belt, I think of Kurt Hennig. He had a nice little run. And before that, I think of Magnum TA for the United States title.
Magnum TA, man, that's a guy who should have been and ended up not being.
He would have been huge. If
it wasn't for that betrayal. Yeah, I mean that belt is gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. The United States with the flag colors on it, the big eagle, the stacked.
What I like about this belt is it's not overkill with what WWE does with theirs. It's just especially that spinner one. Oh my goodness!
But we should do a top 10 belts we hate.
It's just simple. It's got the flag on the side. It's got the country shape of the country. It's got an eagle. It says United States Championship. Simple, and it's almost like the winged eagle belt of WWF.
Yes, it is. It has that similarity to it and that feel. It kind of looks like if the winged eagle had a baby with the Intercontinental belt, the way it's a plate, it would be the United States Heavyweight Wrestling Champion for WCW. Yeah. So my number 7, ladies and gentlemen, probably one of the most collected belts among belt collectors. This is on my list of belts to buy. This is the NWA Television Heavyweight Championship. To me, there just wasn't, it's you have 10 pounds of gold, and it's on the list. We're not going to surprise you. The 10 pounds of gold is on the list. While it has its history for belt collectors, the television is probably the second most recognizable of their belts. You have this nice, beautiful, elongated plate, and it's framed by the red enamel banners over a beautiful eagle, 2 cameras on each side. What was really neat about it was the side plates had CBS and ABC logos, the television logos, because they were the ones who carried NWA wrestling for the most part. This is Arn's title. If you meet
I like that you said that because Joseph Graham
Joseph Graham, baby. It is Arn Anderson's title. If you go to any convention where he's signing autographs, he has that belt. And he carries it with him everywhere.
Lower than the US title at the time.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. This has been around for a while.
It's not as prestigious as say US title or Magnum TA and Chief Wahoo and all those guys had.
Yeah. I mean, this was an equally important belt. It was defended every week on television. There was no this, then, but it was always 100%. It's their belt. It's that TV title belt is going to be defended. And, you could think of, Jake the Snake Roberts held this belt when he was in the NWA, but this is Arn's belt. When I think of this belt, I think of only one man as Arn Anderson. Because that belt is so iconically connected with him historically and will always be.
The TV title that came after that with WCW.
Oh, looks garbage.
Very nice. It ended up in the garbage can. Jim Duggan rescued it.
It was horrible.
Paul that poured it in with a cup of coffee. You remember that?
Yeah, I do. It was a horrible looking belt. All right, let's get to our number 6. This one is a unified pick. We both picked this one. Ladies and gentlemen, the WWF Intercontinental Championship. This is the original one. Well, actually, it's not the original one. The original one that was held by.
Oh, that was a piece of crap looking belt.
And that was really weird looking belt. The one that was held by Pat Patterson. But this is the one you associate with. Yeah. And here's the thing, while the face of the business for WWF or WWE always had the heavyweight belt, this was the workers' belt. This was the wrestlers' wrestling belt. You were considered the number 2 guy if you had this belt.
Now, that's going to be hard to pick one guy each, right, for this belt.
It's hard because, to be honest with you,
this belt has spent so many years.
And a lot of Hall of Famers have won this belt before they won the heavyweight championship belt. It's the plates, the side plates are nicely etched. I like the kind of stacked characteristic of it. The nice globe in the middle.
Okay,
I mean, to me, it's just
I'll go first with my pick.
Yeah, it's just a classic belt. Shoot, who are you going with?
So first wrestler that comes to my mind when I look at this belt is Randy Macho Man Savage.
Yeah.
Just like he was the guy right behind Hogan. It was just like when you looked at WWE at the time, you saw him with this belt, you knew he was a superstar.
Yeah.
A megastar.
There's 2 for me. It was hard to pick just one. I really wanted to go with 2. But it happens to be that they actually competed against each other for this belt, and that's Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon. The classic amazing ladder match that they had for the legitimacy of calling themselves the IC champion.
Yeah, that's a good one. But you could have a list of 20 and still be a legit,
I mean, Bret Hart's had it, Macho's had it, Ultimate Warriors had it.
Owen Hart, Bret Hart, like they made this belt.
Oh, did Owen have it? Owen had it for a while.
Yeah, Owen had it a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, this was the workers' belt. The same within Japan with the Iwgp Intercontinental Championship. This was the belt from the workers, from the guys who really were pure wrestlers, and that's why, this belt is so important to the history of the WWF and the current one. I mean, it doesn't have the same historical feel and value to it. And sometimes it feels like it's kind of like a offhand, oh yeah, by the way, he's the Intercontinental Champion.
It's a beautiful belt. It definitely is the new one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's just, this belt has been around longer than any belt in WWE history. So
yeah, I mean, this has been around for a long, long time. And to me, I mean, like even The Miz made this belt feel important. And that's a huge thing.
Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes held the IC belt. Yeah, absolutely. And he actually came up with, he came up with going back to the original look to it. Crimson Mist, classic belt, better with the black strap than the white. I agree. I think the black really highlights the plate a lot better. If I'm gonna get the IC belt to act like, it's going to be the black strap. I don't think it's going to be the white strap or the 14 other colors that WWE sells on their website for.
I just want to take the time here to say thank you to everyone who's commenting. And you can actually you're really part of the show if you comment and say something, because Joseph Graham's made lots of comments. We're putting the comments on the screen. So be interactive like this is awesome.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean the Intercontinental belt. I mean it's a classic belt. It's just classic. Like I said,
who we can't forget about this belt?
Who?
Joseph Graham.
Jericho. That's right. Chris Jericho. Right. Chris Jericho had carried the IC belt for a while, and even shared it with China as well. So.
Well, he's got I don't know if he still has it, but he's got the record for the most amount of reigns.
I think he still has it. I'm not sure. We'll have to look it up. We'll have to Google it later.
It might be close, I think.
All right, so let's go to our number 5. I think everybody can agree this is a very iconic belt. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the NWA, then the WCW World's Heavyweight Championship, otherwise known by its moniker, Big Gold.
Big goal.
When NWA went defunct, and then after Jim Crockett Promotions bought it and then sold it to Ted Turner, Ric Flair retired the 10 pounds of gold. And the new NWA belt, eventually the WCW belt, had to be a huge deal. And it was. Big Gold, as it's called by everyone, looked like $1 million with its etched plate, a larger-than-life front plate that adorned with gems, made this look like a legitimate, real championship. It's, I mean,
those red gem, those red, I don't know if they're rubies or whatever, but those are really make the belt. They pop.
Yeah. And the nameplate was really big. So you could see who was wearing that belt. You knew looking at that belt, it was Ric Flair, or it was Sting, or it was this guy, or it was that guy. That shows you the legitimacy of this belt. It's just big. It's a big belt for big guys. And that's what really drew a lot of people to liking this belt. I would love to have an original version of this, and there are ones floating out there for several $100,000. But it's a beautiful, beautiful belt.
Crimson Nest, he says, apparently this belt was inspired by rodeo belt buckles. Yeah, and it makes sense, right?
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me in the least.
Because not at all. Make sense. It looks like those rodeo belt buckles, just made bigger.
Yeah, it's just a big one. I mean, like most of the figures that I have that I've collected over the years have that belt. My Ric Flair figure has Big Gold. My Hogan has Big Gold. It's a prominent championship, but it's a huge championship for belt collectors too.
I'm gonna let you go first. Who do you think of when you think of this belt?
I mean, when I look at it and I think about everybody that has had it, to me, Hulk Hogan comes to mind for this.
Oh my goodness, he said the name. Oh my goodness.
I know. I said the name that shall not be named.
With the big NWO on it, right?
With the big NWO on it. I mean, it's so iconic to see that belt with the spray paint on it, because at that time, you were defacing a championship. That's huge. That was a big deal. I saw it. I'm like, he's a legit bad guy at this point. Because he's spray painted.
Because the belt is just so beautiful. Spray painting NWO on that big, beautiful belt. It's just it makes it. I guess I was debating saying the Bulkster as well. But since we're feuding right now, I don't think it's right. I also thought of Flair. But because I'm a big Bret the Hitman Hart mark, and he never lost the belt.
That's true. He didn't.
He never lost the belt. He is still the WCW World Heavyweight Champion to me.
Yeah.
He never lost it. He's the belt he never lost. So I'm going Bret the Hitman Hart on this.
Yeah, I mean, great guy. Booker T had this belt multiple times.
Oh, Booker, he really helped black wrestlers.
Yeah, absolutely.
By carrying that belt so well.
Yeah. I mean, he carried it like a champ. And that's the thing. You can't look weak carrying this belt. It's virtually impossible. Hold this
belt, just a Graham asked. I think
Vader did hold his belt. Indeed, yes. Vader did hold the belt.
Do you remember?
I don't remember when. It was early on, and
was it Farouk Ron Simmons?
No, he won the other belt before they switched to Big Gold.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Big Gold, what can you say? It's a belt collector's dream. I know a lot of belt collectors, and most of them, this is how they start. They always start with Big Gold because it's out there. And there's great replicas of it out there. So let's go to our number 4, and that is going to be the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship, otherwise known adoringly by many, including myself, is 10 pounds of gold. Other than the IWGP heavyweight belt, no belt has a history so vast and so glorious as the NWA World Championship, also known as 10 pounds of gold. The side plates are the international flags because it gives you that sense that this is a world's heavyweight championship. It's not just an American championship. It's a world championship. So they had those flags
on there.
It leads to this rectangular plate with this dome globe and the U.S. flag, and it says just in plain and simple letters that you are the world's heavyweight champion.
Okay, so let's just stop for a sec. So these are voted by the fans on Twitter. So
yeah, these were voted by the fans on Twitter. 4 through 1 are voted by you guys, not by us.
So this is not our choices here. So
yeah, so I know Joseph Graham says it should be higher. Hey, I agree. This should be number 1, but the fans spoke on Twitter.
What I don't like about this belt.
Yeah.
First, let me say what I do like. I do like that little dome globe there.
Yeah.
I don't like the U.S. flag on the front.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all. Maybe if you had another flag on the, if you had Canada on the other side, maybe. I don't know, but it seems out of place. That's what I don't like about the belt.
Yeah, I mean, you have Canada, Australia. I don't know why Australia's on there, but Australia, Mexico, and Japan are the 4 countries that are on the side plates. I like it. I like it. I mean, to me, this is
Canada and Russia. There, it looks like almost 2 countries.
Yeah, no, it's Canada. Canada.
It looks like it's smaller than the other, though.
Yeah, it's the they don't like Canada. The NWA does not like Canada. But this belt has been around this belt's been around since the 40s. Until it was retired by Ric Flair, it was the championship. And then, of course, it's been resurrected with NWA, emerging.
What promotions has this belt been in?
It's been in NWA, WCW. It's also been in Impact at that time because they were a territory for the NWA. And then NWA currently right now.
Did it appear on WWE in the 90s when they had that NWA faction?
Nope.
Remember they had the NWA faction in WWE?
I do remember that, but I do not think that belt made an appearance in WWE. I mean, it may have, but if it did, WWE would be selling a replica of that belt.
In terms of misses, I think they replaced the Australian plate with the UK flag. Did they do that? I think they might have.
I think they did, yeah. I think the newest version that's out now has it.
It makes more sense to have UK than Australia.
Yeah, Australia doesn't make a lot of sense, but and now, NWA is owned by Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins. He brought this belt back. Cody Rhodes has held it. Nick Aldis has held it. Trevor Murdoch is the current champion. If you can't call yourself a belt collector unless you have this in your collection. 10 pounds of gold.
With Natalia Markova showing up in NWA, could she hold this belt? The belt collector, right?
Yeah, she's the belt collector, so she needs to get this one. She needs to take on Trevor Murdoch and to a street fight.
That would even be a good match.
Oh, that'd be a great match. I'd love to see that because I'm not a fan of. I like Trevor Murdoch, but I'm not a huge fan of Trevor Murdoch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the NWA. This is a priceless quality product.
So speaking of NWA and Trevor Murdoch, they got Hard Times 2 coming up here.
They do.
Is he going to hold on to this belt?
I don't know. Who's up? Who's he fighting? I don't keep up with NWA as much as I should. I mean, if it's Nick Aldis, I think Aldis takes it.
Is he just a placeholder champion for Nick Aldis to kind of take a break as champion to make his Ric Flair sort of win the belt back, sort of thing?
I think so. Yeah. Which is, I mean, sometimes you have to have a short-term champion, a bridge champion in order to go from transitional champion from one to another. So, I mean, I like Nick Aldis. I think
Crimson Mist says it is Mike
Knox. Okay, I give to Mike Knox. Let him run with that belt. I mean, the one thing that Trevor Murdoch has going for him, he looks like a 70s professional wrestler. Yeah, I don't think Murdoch was the right choice to throne all this personally either. Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
it's good that great minds think alike. I like Mike Knox
with his dad, right? His dad was him and Adrian Adonis together were killing it.
Yeah. And I mean, Trevor Murdoch looks like an old school wrestler. I mean, he's got the big belly, he's big and barrel chested, he's real burly.
Oh, yeah,
he hits like a ton of brick.
Like his dad.
Yeah, but Mike Knox, I would like to see Mike Knox have a belt or two while he's in NWA. So, but yeah, our number 4, the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, otherwise known as the glorious 10 pounds of gold.
Wow,
this is a great book.
With the 40-minute mark.
Oh yeah. This great book called 10 Pounds of Gold that is about the history of this belt. It is a great book to have. It is amazing. It's a great read.
You know, I would be so upset if this belt only weighed 9 pounds.
It's 9.7 actually. All right, let's go to our number 3, the IWGP World's Heavyweight Championship version 4. Let's face facts. If there's ever a crown for a king of Japanese wrestling, this would be that title. The main plate is a double plate with the IWGP raised above on the main plate. This belt has a lot of weight to it. And trust me, I know because I have it. What makes this belt even great, and what makes this belt even better than any belt that we have on here, is that the history of the people who have held this belt are the side plates. So every person who's ever won this championship. Cool. It's
almost like the Stanley Cup of championship belts.
That's right. It is the Stanley Cup wrestling belts, ladies and gentlemen. When I think of the great wrestlers over the years who have held this belt, I go with the current, which I know I'm going to get a lot of shit for, but Okada. When I see this version of that belt, I think Okada. It's that beautiful of a belt. I have it. It is absolutely gorgeous. It is a talking piece for a lot of people who come to my office.
It's a beautiful belt. Like, you know, I don't know why. Like, I don't know why they switched it to that. Like, are they going to bring this back? Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, here's the storyline. Okada is walking around as the G1 champion with that belt, and wants to fight for that belt. So who
or the Cody Rhodes one
with this belt, the one we're showing right now, as opposed to the Cody Rhodes neck tattoo championship belt that is currently being used right now by Shingo Takagi. I like this belt. I understand the new world's championship belt. I get it. It's a combination of a lot of the older belts over the years, but this one is just so classic, and the names on the side. It's history.
I love the names on the side. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's the history of Japanese Peruso, and that's a huge thing. But yeah, that's our number 2. Who do you think?
In AEW that held this belt right now.
Kenny Omega.
Yeah, Kenny Omega, great champion, right?
Yeah, AJ Styles has held this belt.
Yeah.
Hiroshi Tanahashi. I mean, Van Vader has held this belt. I mean, there's a lot of great wrestlers. Brock Lesnar has held this belt. There's a lot of great wrestlers have owned this.
When did he go to Japan and win this?
After he left WWE, before he went to UFC.
Wow, I didn't know that. How long did he hold it? Do you know?
Not very long. Couple months,
cool,
I think.
To win it there.
Yeah, it's amazing. There's again, for those who like to read, there's a great book. It's in Japanese, but there's a great book that talks about the history of this belt. It's got a lot of pictures. So if you can't read Japanese, yeah, it's got tons of pictures. So if you can't read Japanese, like I can't, I want this book just so I can look at the pictures and the history of this belt.
Nakamura held it as well, says Joseph.
Nakamura, yeah. Shinsuke has held this belt as well as the IWGP Intercontinental belt as well. So let's go to our number 2. As voted by the fans. Huh?
I said what you said.
Okay. The AEW World's Heavyweight Championship. you know, a lot of newer belts look congested, busy, and in some cases, gaudy as all hell. AEW, being only a few years old, came to bat and hit a freaking home run with everything's huge. The side plates, huge. The big, huge, the double plate with AEW
shouldn't be on the list because it's too new. But I disagree. I think it is the most beautiful belt.
I think it's one of the most gorgeous belts that's out there right now. You know, it is a stunning belt, and it looks like $1 million, and it looks like big gold.
It's worth $30,000. Took $30,000 to make this belt.
Yeah, I mean it's nothing to snuff at.
That belt, when it's live on TV, to see the diamonds sparkling and everything. Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
it looks like an expensive belt.
Yeah, it looks like $1 million. It literally does. And it makes me cringe every time that, you know, somebody uses the belt to hit somebody with. I'm like, if I was Tony Khan, I'd be like, oh, hey, we only have 2 of those. Let's not get carried away.
When Bret Hart came out with this belt,
oh yeah,
I was blown away.
Yeah,
it was just like, wow, that is a beautiful, beautiful belt. And I knew that I had to have a replica of that as soon as I could. And I've never owned a belt, and this is right here.
Yeah, mine's sitting on my dresser. Mine's in my office. It needs to be hung up.
You got your birthday present. I remember that.
I know. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I'll pick it out.
I know. Canada Dry with the assist on the one timer, but put the biscuit in the basket. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous belt. I love the AEW printing. I love the globes. I love it just looks so beautiful.
I do agree with Joseph there with Hangman.
Yeah.
It does look weird on Hangman.
It does, yeah. It does.
But he seems better as a chaser of that belt.
Yeah. I think he's a transitional champion. I think I
hope they don't go crazy with. I know there's a lot of Hangman fans out there, so don't get mad at me. I love Hangman Page.
Angry tweet at Canada Dry.
He doesn't need the belt to be over.
No, he doesn't. He's a wrestler that doesn't need a championship to be over. He's legit.
He's a lot like who's that ECW wrestler? Dreamer. He's a lot like Dreamer, where chasing that belt, he just looks so good. And, if Brian Danielson was able to steal that belt from him, it would just make it heel Brian Danielson would just be so good. I would love it.
It would be awesome. Oh, that would make me so happy to see.
I just want to say I'm loving heel Brian Danielson right now. Yeah. Just so awesome.
I know.
I've never been. I loved him in WWE.
Yeah.
But right now, he's on fire.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's probably to me he's one of the best wrestlers in the world right now. He's probably putting out some of the best wrestling and promos that he's done in quite a long time. The
neat thing about that is you can just see the chains are off and just the love of the wrestling is just coming back for him, and it's just beautiful to see.
It is gorgeous. So yeah, AEW as voted by the fans number 2.
Well, we didn't say who we think of. There's only 4 guys, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, there's only 4 guys. So I think of Jericho. I think of Jericho, the original holder of the belt. Jericho holding that belt at that time was the right decision, and he was the face of AEW. I mean, to me, it's I think Jericho. Who do you think?
Oh, Jericho is a definitely great choice by you. But the one who really cemented that title is the longest reign in AEW history, and that is Kenny Omega.
Kenny Omega, yeah.
Just like the way he carried that belt, it was Ric Flairish. It was heel. It was just he did such a good job as a heel champion.
Yeah, he had the strut, and he did that belt extremely proud. I mean, Mox did a great job with it. Yeah, in the no crowd era. Yeah, I mean that I agree with you, Joseph. He did an amazing job making that belt seem important when you didn't have crowds to root you on for it. But Jericho will always hold a special place in my heart as being the AEW champion, being the first one beating Heyman.
A quick question: does Jericho have another run in him, or is that it?
I think he's near the end of his career. I honestly think that touring and wrestling and his kids are getting ready to go to college. I'm not saying he's got to hang it up. I don't think he's got one more run. If he does have one more run, it would be WWE.
Cool to have him have one last, even as a transitional champion.
I agree.
It would be cool to have him have one big.
Yeah.
I didn't like how quickly Jericho's run was over as the world champion. I would have liked it to last a couple more months.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I agree. Short. That was my problem with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to carry a promotion on your back when you are, above the age of 45. You look at a lot of wrestlers in their older years trying to carry the company. It just doesn't work. You got a lot of new guys. You got a lot of new guys that are, that need to be showcased.
I don't know how many other titles were left on the side of a highway in a bag.
That's true. Jericho left the bag in a rental car, so
they're stolen from the back of the driver.
Yeah.
And
jeez,
that was an interesting story, though, and
it was that was a hilarious story.
The fact that it got back to him, and the fact that now there's two of them.
There are two. Yep.
So if say the champion leaves it at home, you can use the other one, I guess.
Got a hero belt.
I think one stays with Tony Khan and one stays with the champion just in case.
Yeah. So let's get to our number one. And that, of course, is the WWF World Heavyweight Championship.
Wow, what a
also known as Winged Eagle. This belt, if you grew up watching wrestling in the 80s, you know this belt.
The 80s and 90s.
Oh, yeah, 80s and 90s. If you're a belt collector, you have this belt. The great Reggie Parks, God bless his soul, rest in peace, Reggie Parks, is the one who created this belt with the engraved side plates that lead to the gold bars on the side and lead into the winged eagle hoisting up the globe. The WWF logo smack dab in the middle.
What's so beautiful about it? It's just small.
Yeah. And there was a bigger version. This one got retired, and they went to what they call Big Eagle, where the eagle wings don't protrude. It sits within the round plate. But this one is just classic because think of all the greats who have worn this belt. Stone Cold Steve Austin held this belt. Shawn Michaels held this belt. Bret Hart has held this belt.
Well, I don't call it the Winged Eagle belt.
Yeah.
I call it the Bret the Hitman Hart belt.
Yeah.
Because when I think of this belt, I think of Bret kissing it.
Yeah.
And I think of Bret Hart. I call it the Bret Hart belt.
I mean, HBK, Macho Man, the list goes on and on.
And Hulk also held it.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan, and that's who I associate it with because that was my first really intro into this belt. Was Hulk Hogan, but Iron Sheik held the belt too.
Not this one.
What's that?
This is not the one that Hulk Hogan. Like there was another one before this one.
There was one before this one, yes.
And the one Sheik held was the one with the green.
Yeah, the green belt. Yeah, but there's two guys in the belt world that are MVPs, Hall of Famers, and one is Dave Milliken. He's the one who created Big Eagle. and a lot of the WWE belts in the 90s, and then Reggie Parks. If you're going to own this belt, get a Reggie Parks belt. Pay the extra money and get the Reggie Parks version because it's just
do you
built.
Own this belt?
Huh?
You own this belt?
I do.
We didn't have to hold some of these pitches. You could just held it up.
I just hoisted them and carried them out like that.
Yeah, you could be the new belt collector.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous belt. I know a lot of guys who have this as belt collectors. It's just gorgeous, but it's synonymous with the boom of 80s wrestling when that rock and roll era of professional wrestling came about. It was this belt. It was Winged Eagle.
Well, this belt really came around right when Hulk Hogan was kind of exiting.
Yep,
WWF,
exactly.
and he held this in the end of his career.
Yeah.
When he was supposed to make the transition and the handoff to Bret Hart, where he wouldn't do it, Yokozuna held this belt as well.
Yep, Yokozuna. Yep. So did there's a lot of guys, man, who have held this belt. But it's a gorgeous belt. I feel like the belts we showed are belts that if you're going to be a collector, these are the essential belts.
Yeah, so definitely the ones I want this one for sure. I have to own this.
Yeah.
And I probably because of Brett and Big Gold as well.
Yeah, sure. Big Gold is gorgeous. The ECW belt is really nice. But nothing beats the Winged Eagle. Big Eagle is really cool looking. It's a really unique design. Bob Backlund.
Backlund Diesel as well.
Bob Backlund, Diesel. Yeah, I mean, Shawn Michaels, you name it. The Rock had this version of the belt. And this is before they started doing the Fugazi creative belts, Smoking Skull belt and the Brahma Bull belt and the Spinner belt and all this stuff.
Chris Jericho was the last to hold that belt.
So this is and speaking of, when we're talking about belts, my honorable mention is the Undisputed belt that Triple H got after he beat Jericho and unified after Jericho unified the belts and they came up with the Undisputed belt. That's my probably my honorable mention because it's a gorgeous looking belt. I mean, it really is. Dave Milliken made it. It is absolutely gorgeous. You have an honorable mention you want to?
My honorable mention would be the current TNT Championship held by Sammy Guevara.
Yeah.
Blinged out, just the ice all over that thing.
Oh God, that thing is gorgeous.
It like that's if I'm gonna get the TNT belt, it's gonna be the iced out version. I don't know if it's gonna cost more, but
make it look like a shiny grill, yo.
I really like that version of the belt.
Sweet. All right, so those are our 11 because we differed on
10. It's 10. We had a fight. We almost broke up.
Yeah, it's 10A. It was 7A and 7B.
We might break up again if the Boston Bruins beat the I have to wear that Celtics hat next week.
Oh, it's going to look gorgeous. The Boston Celtics hat, the green hat sitting in a pond.
Part of my religion says I cannot wear a Boston Bruins thing. So
I don't blame you. It's going to be hard for me to wear a Canucks shirt. I'm gonna feel ill. It's going to feel tight. Feel like my chest yourself all the time. All right, guys. So as always, you can find us at effingwrestling.com. That is our website. That will take you to all of our social media locations, including YouTube, our Twitter accounts, our Facebook accounts, you name it, we're on it. And it'd be a great place for you to go and kind of learn more about Effing Wrestling because we're more than just a podcast and a t-shirt company. And speaking of t-shirts, you can pick one up at prowrestlingtees.com/Effing Wrestling. Put a T on your back, especially with the Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals. Canada Dry has our Owen Hart tribute shirt, which is absolutely gorgeous. I own it as well. wrestling with the paranormal, the middle fingers that are sitting behind Canada Dry. So yeah, we have lots of great shirts. They all go to a great cause. Us.
Well, we don't know what we're going to do with the money yet from selling, but we definitely want to do something good with it.
Yeah, we want to do good with it. We don't want to. We're not going to buy private jets or anything like that.
Wheeling and dealing, baby. Woo!
Gold-plated toilets. None of that shenanigans, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe worst case scenario, we might get a Tim Hortons cup of coffee and some Timbits. That's about it. So on that note, Canada Dry, have you talked to Big Gold and Winged Eagle owner Hulk Hogan recently?
I thought that maybe this would be a little peace offering to Hulk Hogan. I thought, I told him we were gonna, mention him on the show and talk nice. He held the belts and we talk about him a bit, but got cricket sounds, nothing. And so Hulk Hogan, again, you're a piece of trash. We never want to hear from you again, and don't bother answering me when I message you next week because you know what? You suck. Yeah. Effing Wrestling 362.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan 0. Canada Dry out.